Hey guys, this is Aaron with Dunn Technology Services, and we're back here with the building and development of the Let's Encrypt SSL download tool for pfSense. And it's written in batch, which means it's only for Windows. And I know batch is an ugly language, even I don't like it. We'll be moving to Python soon, probably after this project. Still kind of learning the ins and outs of Python, but we're in batch. Anyways, I wanted to actually give you guys a demo of the tool. I couldn't do it last time because I was having some issues with the user account. It was really a simple fix. It's just a dumb move I made. So let me actually demo for you what the tool is actually doing. So here we go. Actually, let me move this over. Whoops, I kind of threw everything down. Windows automatically minimizes everything. Close that folder. Alright. So, carefully slide this over. So, this is the main script or tool that's supposed to do everything for you. So if you watch over here, there's no certificate or key present. And again, this is downloading a Let's Encrypt certificate. This is actually a real Let's Encrypt certificate that I went and fetched real quick from the Let's Encrypt servers. So I am going to show you the certificate data and key. It's only for demonstration purposes. It's not being used in any servers right now. So, sorry, I just want to pull something back up. That minimized everything. But yeah, so the certificate and key is not being used anywhere, but this is a real Let's Encrypt certificate, and that's installed on pfSense on my system right now. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of how this works. Real simple tool, and right after this we're going to go ahead and integrate the dependency check where we last left off into the main script. So here we go. This is what it does. So I'm going to double click it. Right now it's actually in input mode, so it's actually going to automatically type the password information for us. So I'll kind of commentary as it runs. So here we go. So script runs based on the schedule. Password gets inserted into the prompt right there, and as you can see, it downloaded the main configuration file from pfSense. Now it's converting the data or parsing the data out of the file, and then it just converted the base64 data into the actual script's certain key. And that's it. That's all it literally does. It fetches the main configuration file from pfSense and then searches for the specific certificate that you have specified in this table of variables that we'll go over in the tutorial in the future. And then it pulls those lines out, dumps it, and then it converts, because it's in base64 format, and so it decodes that into the actual certificate and key and dumps it for you right here in the central folder. So here they are. Here's the real Let's Encrypt certificate, so I'm just going to slide this back over. Here's the real Let's Encrypt certificate that it just pulled from pfSense. And here's the real key. So again, I don't care if someone takes this, it's not being used in production, and it's only going to last for 3 months, and then it's over. This is literally for demonstration purposes, and we'll be done with the tool by then. So, there you go, there you have it. That's the demonstration of what it does. It works beautifully. However, this is working in password input mode, and like I said in the last live stream, we're not going to be doing password input mode. The default will be an SSH key. It's going to pull your certificate and key via using SSH keys. And in the tutorial, I'll show you guys how to set that up, but it makes it so much easier, and it's actually more secure, and it's actually more efficient, because unfortunately, as cool as it is the system is automatically typing the the script is automatically typing the password for you. That's not good, because if the computer's logged out, it'll start to press keystrokes, right? But it won't actually get into the prompt. So the issue with that is if you're running this script on a schedule and you're not logged in, then it's not going to type the key presses. Even if you lock the computer or the server, it's not going to type the key presses. So you literally would have to stay logged in, maybe turn the monitor off, in order for this script to work. For some people, they might do that. Some people are more comfortable with password input. They don't have any concept or idea of using SSH keys. And I'm not insulting them at all. It can be a little intimidating. But like I said, in the tutorial, I'm actually going to show you guys how to do SSH keys on pfSense. And once you set it up for your server or workstation, it's super easy after that, and you don't even need to type a password in, and it can automatically the script can automatically connect to the server, logged in or not, and run in the background. And it's actually more secure because it's using a private certificate for that server. So anyways, with all that said, this is the main script. I'll just do a quick brief on it. I might change some of the namings in here, but for now this is just draft mode, and like we're just trying to get it all out there. So here's the values that you're going to edit. Above this line right here, you're going to edit any of these values, and I'm probably going to add a few more because I'm going to be changing some things. I'm going to be adding some switches in there, so you can switch on. By default, it'll use SSH key mode, but if you want to use password input mode, I will leave that on, so you can turn on a switch for that, which will be nice, you know, for those of you who want to do that. And as you can kind of see here, all you do is open up this file and edit the configuration. So, you know, you'd edit your host address. You know, you can do a DNS address or IP address. If you do DNS, just make sure the system that you're running has a DNS server connected, or it's connected to a DNS server. Then you'd enter your port number, you'd enter your username that has SSH access on pfSense, and then you'd enter your password. And the password is actually an exclamation point at the end here, and this is just a dummy password. I know I would never use a password like this, but it has an exclamation point, and I have to use a caret right here. Oops. I have to use the caret symbol because that's the escape character for batch in order to escape the exclamation point. That's another reason why I don't want, I wouldn't recommend using password input for this tool, because batch has problems with some characters in a password. So you might have to change your password just for batch to work, or you have to know what the escape characters are for batch. So it'll be there, that functionality will be there, but yeah. Anyways, so, and then it specifies the remote directory, and I actually will probably remove this out of this editorial area because this is the default directory for literally everybody. And I may have like an advanced section in case you actually store this in a different location on pfSense, but most people don't. But the configuration file, this is pointing to the default configuration file location. And yeah, I don't think you really need to edit that. And this probably not either. This is probably more specific to the script, and I want to hard code that to where this is where it actually dumps the files, the destination directory. But this is definitely something where you would actually specify changing. And let me see if I could pull that up in pfSense real quick. I do actually have it open. Let me just see if I can pull it up. I actually don't want to pull it up because there's actually some sensitive information. I just have it open on another screen. But it's actually pretty simple. When I do it in the tutorial, I'll have everything set up properly. But basically, you would specify the exact name that you specified of the certificate in pfSense. So you would have to just make sure this has an exact name and make sure there's no spaces after anything. That's goes for any of these values that you entered, and make sure there's no spaces. But you're going to change this name, and this is very important. This, if you don't enter this name, then you're not going to find your certificate. And as you can see, it actually uses this to name your certificate and key. But this is actually the same name of the certificate and key inside of pfSense. So it uses this to find it inside of pfSense, so that's a very important value to enter. And we'll just continue. So the rest of these, you don't have to worry about all this, but this just has to do with the functionality of the script. That would take a while to explain, but I'm not trying to give too much a tutorial here, but you kind of do have to understand like what I'm doing right now, so you can kind of follow. Excuse me. And this right here actually deletes any pre-existing certificates and keys that are in the same directory that it downloaded from when it first runs. And the reason why it does that is because it's basically removing, just in case you left them there, but they're expired now. And so when the script runs again automatically, it makes sure that those old scripts are not in there. So it's just deleting any old ones and giving you the new ones. Now, so actually we may not want to hard code this now that I think about it. The destination directory, we'll probably leave this open as, of course, user generated, and maybe I'll add like a comment stating that it's actually downloading the certificate and key in the same directory that the script is running in. As you can see, the script is running here, and it downloaded them right next to it in the same folder. But we can leave this as an option for you to change to whatever directory you want, because let's say you have like a shared drive in production that only turns on, you know, maybe once every 30 days or once a week at a certain time of the week for maybe 1 hour, a couple hours period for security measures. But you want this to dump these certificates to that shared drive so all the servers can pull from it. So maybe you'd want to change that. So we actually will open that. Like I said, this is in draft mode. We're in the development stage. So, still trying to get through it here. But anyways, this is a check to make sure the old ones aren't there, and it just gives you the new ones anyways. So no harm at all. And so write files is just a section. You don't have to worry about it too much. This just has to do with the keyboard input section, which we're going to move to a different area later in the future. And then download. So download section is pretty obvious. This is the actual part that is heavily... This is where the dependency comes in. This is using PuTTY as a dependency to pull the files off of pfSense. So right now, like I said, it's using password mode. But we're gonna write soon, pretty soon, in the near future, to use SSH key mode, which is very simple to set up. And yeah, but this is where it downloads it, and then after that it's just deleting some of the process files, which is the keyboard input files. We don't have to worry about any of that. This is the most important part, which I'm really proud of, because batch is so ugly and it's really hard to just manipulate stuff with batch, and it's super ugly to do. But anyways, this whole system is basically, I created a concept of a little controller that turns on some switches, and these switches are searching through the configuration file of pfSense and pulling those certain lines. And the first line is the private key, the second line is the actual certificate data. But if you actually look in the configuration file of pfSense, you can actually see that all the certificate data and the key data are in a single line in a base64 format. So it's pulling it from the configuration file and using some fancy techniques to extract it. And This is very static. You definitely don't want to touch this because otherwise it will not pull the right information and you'll be screwed. So I'm probably going to add some huge like line blocks just to show like this should not be touched at all, and really emphasize that this is the only area that you should edit. Of course, again, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on this, but yeah, so the parsing section is just going to, so this is actually dumping the keys out. This is pulling the keys into variables, and this is actually dumping the keys. No, this is actually not dumping the keys. So this is actually just parsing part of the keys. So the keys get dumped here, and then they're parsed, a little bit parsed in here. And that's just cutting the front and tail ends. Excuse me. Yeah, if you actually look at the key insert in pfSense in the configuration file, it has some data in there. In base64 format, and there's like a header and a footer inside of the line, and so this is just cutting those front and tail ends off so you get the actual full data. And then it dumps this data that we just formatted into actual base64 format. Or not base64 format, I'm sorry, it dumps it into base64. I mean, actually, they're just text files. I just called them base64. I don't know if there's an actual file extension for base64 because the actual data is base64. I don't know if there's a file actually called base64, but whatever. They're just dumped into text files called base64. And then right here, this is a native function in Windows called cert utility. It's a pretty powerful certificate utility. You can do a lot with it. I haven't really done too much with it at all, really. But one thing you can do with it is it can decode base64 data. So it decodes the data into it decodes the key data to the actual key. This is where this is what you get right here. This is what's happening. This part gives you the actual key, decoding the base64 to the actual key, and then decoding the cert base64 to the actual cert. And this is what you're left with. This is the final value, and then this just deletes those temporary text files for the base64 because we don't need them anymore. And did I mention, I forgot, this also deletes the configuration file. And the reason why, it doesn't delete it off pfSense, it just deletes the download that it just pulled from it. And this is actually very important, and I actually probably should add a cue there to quiet it so it doesn't prompt at all. Just forces no prompting. But the reason why it does this is because you do not want your pfSense configuration file sitting in any of your directories in the open. You might just be leaving it for backup, but I know people back up their configuration file for pfSense, but you have to be absolutely careful with that because you don't realize your certificate data is stored in the configuration file, and people who know what they're doing, people who know about base64, it's super simple. All they have to do is use a utility like this, which comes with Windows or many other utilities out there, and decode it, and your certificate data is exposed. So it's actually not good practice to leave your configuration file of pfSense in the open. You probably should store it somewhere secure, or for this production tool, I just have it delete its download because the whole point of this tool is not for that. It's just to pull the certificate data out for you so you can actually use it in production. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, and so then right here, it just tells you that it's going to execute the next script, and I'm just going to add a little start function that you can add in a variable at the very top, just to specify what script file you want to start. And then probably should explain that a little bit better. Basically, let's say, because I actually created a Ubiquiti Unify SSL install script, which I probably will be releasing as well. I actually created it's already done, so I'll probably be releasing that on GitHub as well. But basically, I just after this runs, then I just have this execute the Unify or Ubiquiti Unify SSL install script, and then it starts installing. But if you have other SSL install scripts, you know, in your Windows environment, then you can just put them here and it'll go ahead and execute them for you. And of course, if you know what you're doing, you can edit this section however you please, or any of these things however you please. But as long as you fully understand the script, if you don't, then don't even worry about it. All the tables and all the values that you would be needing to be concerned with will be right here. So anyways, let's start coding. I know that was a long talk about everything, but you just have to be on the same page with me if you want to see where this is going. And plus, this is just a elongated live stream, so let's have some fun. So the last part that we left off at, just checking my notes. So the last part we left off at was checking the dependencies. So we created a separate section for this, but because I'm actually using the main script now, we can probably go ahead and start with that. Start integrating it into the main script. And I think because I made a change, whoops. Oh yeah, we don't need the certain key there. So okay. We actually won't commit for now, because we're going to be making a lot of changes. We barely made a change. Well, we don't want to forget that. It's an important part. I just wrote in the chat, let me know if the volume's okay for anyone who jumps in. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to this. So we're going to go ahead and actually integrate this into the script. Actually, let's stay here because we probably want to make sure this works first before we keep running through this whole thing. Screw it. We'll just bring it all in, and then we'll just stop it. And we'll just bring this whole section in, and now we don't have to have it open anymore. Leave that. 16 files. That's fine. So we're gonna bring these in. Let's remove that. So this is actually, pretty sure these are hard-coded. Yeah, we'll clean it all up. We're still trying to organize it, but we'll clean it all up for final production. But for now, we just want to code, right? So we got our dependencies, send keys, sender. So yeah, sender would be an actual dependency based on how this system reports errors. So, last video we were showing that off and working with it. Now it works really well. And so let's see. Just removing that there, section check dependencies. So how do we want to label this? I usually like to label things on top like that so you can see, but I know I kind of have it mixed around like that. Maybe we'll kind of do it like that. Let's call it current work stop. Let's kind of space this out a little bit. That's just to kind of help us know like where we're at. Whatever. Alright. So right now we're trying to check the dependencies. So basically, let's see. And you probably see that it says Remax time. I forgot to note that this is actually my own custom tool. I wrote it for myself, but I've used it for multiple businesses. Yeah. I'll just get rid of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure it's working correctly. So putty found when send keys found, and so yeah, it's just stopping right there where it should stop, which is good. And let's just make sure the error checking is working. You know, I don't know, I just add a 1, and then we'll just make sure. Can't find it. Error code reported. Second error code is reported. App stops. And we'll probably change the functionality of that as well. And there we go. So good to go. I'm just checking to make sure there's no other company info in there. I don't really care. I mean, I've used it for different businesses, but I've made it in such a basic way, and now I'm trying to like make it for public use. So I'm not too concerned. And don't think that I wrote it just for them only. Like I said, I wrote it for myself, and I've used it, and I've just changed the name for different environments. So I just want to get that out of the way. Like, I'm not stealing anything. Like, literally, I wrote this for myself. I just want to get that out of the way. I've used my tools for different businesses, and now I'm just making my tools public. That's kind of the point of my company is, well, not the main point, but one of the points that my company is trying to bring is I want to pretty much give the community a lot of my production tools that I've made and share them. But I want to make it for, because I know how they're running in those environments. But you know how that goes. If the IT guy or developer codes stuff for that specific environment. They know exactly how it runs, but it's not really made with best industry practice, and I understand that. But because it's just for that specific business or that specific company, doesn't really matter. As long as it works, the functionality works for them, it's all good to go. But for public release, I definitely want to make it more universal and user-friendly. So, that way it's not just using my own idea of things, and maybe a little bit more industry, universal standards or industry practice. So, anyways, back to dependency checks. So this is dependencies. So actually, let's put that there. And what we're going to want to do is actually create just want to make sure that the dependencies were actually installed. So we'll just call it like putty inst. And let's actually look at the root directory of where it's installed. So let's see. It's pretty simple. It's a pretty native directory, to be honest. So putty.exe, yeah. You can't suffocate my spirit. 'Cause I'm the king on my own throne. And I noticed that it's good to use absolute directories if you're running in administrative mode, but because this is not running in administrative mode, we may not need to, but if someone requires it to use administrative mode in the future, then we'll probably go ahead and make those directories a little bit more absolute, like these. Or we might just use like a push command just to push the current directory it's running in. So WinSend keys actually doesn't need to be installed. I think it just runs from that directory. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't used it yet. I want to use that instead of VBS script because WinSend keys is a lot stronger in sending keys over than VBS is. As far as my coding skills goes, WinSend keys is a little bit, it's already developed to be a strong keyboard input, and it actually waits. So if you actually accidentally switch windows, I do have VBS script pushing to go back to the window, but if you actually go back to a different window again, VBS will not detect or try to push back to the other window unless you write a function for that in VBS. I don't know VBS well enough to do that, but WinSend keys actually already has that functionality in there, and I've tested it, so if you are in the same window and try to click somewhere else, it'll push back to the window, and if you click somewhere else again, it'll keep pushing back to the window. And even if it's mid-type, like even while it's mid-typing a sentence and you click away, it'll wait till it goes back to the window to finish typing the sentence. So it's actually a really strong tool that's faster than writing VBS script. So let's see. We don't need that. So yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's pretty much it. I can get used to, I'm just like explaining things so much just so I can be on the same page. But yeah, so we just want to check that's installed. So first we check the dependencies. This is the actual, we'll actually just leave it right there. So check. You know, that is actually kind of funny, because I'm just thinking right now, how can you send an error code to an error code system that's not even found, you know? How could you even validate that? So... I don't think we'll use, obviously, I don't think we'll use the error checking system for this. I think what we'll do is actually... Sorry. A little tired. What did I call it? Just called it a... I think I got rid of it. Error codes list. Error codes message. Error checking system. So this will actually display in the actual tool, and the error code system, we kind of want to match that same concept. We're just gonna write like a full error block right here for send error, right? Because send error is located there. Yeah, if that file's not found, then it's just gonna completely report. So if send error does not exist, so the actual send error file, then we want to basically echo this like error code 103. Actually, we'll make this error code 100. That makes more sense. Like, that is, you know, literally the error code engine. If that does not exist, then nothing will work, you know? Well, I'm not saying nothing will work, but it can't report anything properly, so let's actually move this to the top as the first check. So let's see. Check error code system. So check error code system. Present. Well, I already have that there, so in fact we'll just do this. Error code systems. This is the error code system. We know that's checking for the error code system presence. This is buddy. And this is when send keys. So if the error code system's not there, so it's actually going to report the error within this system here. So it's going to go error code 100, error checking system not found. And we'll do a little exclamation point. We'll just do section check dependencies. How do we have it displayed out here? We just have date and time. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. So date, time. That's pretty much it, yeah. So So yeah, we'll actually make like this whole section pretty much a there'll be like an end here. It'll actually just close out everything. And what we're gonna say is we'll make it in caps. Tool cannot continue. Yeah, I mean this is a major function of the tool. And we needed everything to work, so just leave that for now, and then we'll add a pause function, pause, not function, but pause command, and then I wonder if we can. I've never done this before. We might be able to. Actually, we probably don't want to do that because we want it to report. Never mind. Want to have this also inside of we also want this to be reported. So we just call it error report log. If it's silent in dismay, it won't break this feeling down. If I conquer this, so error report log or main. We'll call it app report log. And I don't know all the stuff. I'm still a new coder. I'm not like 100% know everything about coding. I've only been doing it for over a year and only been script coding. I've only been a script coder for a while. But I am learning better things nowadays. I'm trying to do better because I want to, and I love learning. So this is the report. So first we'll create an app report.log, and then it's actually going to show you visually and also pause it, but this little section here actually dumps it to the app report.log. So app report.log. It should. I've never done a code block like that inside of an if statement, but let's try it. We'll see how it goes. And then I'll just pause right here. it'll just pause. Now for now, all this does exist. So it didn't find the rest, but it found the error check system, right? But if the dependencies are there, then it should find them all. Error check system found, putty found, WinSend keys found, like all of them are there. All of them are present. And also try to create some spaces afterwards, so just visually presentable. It's easier to find. Yeah, so all of those are found, so that means the program can continue. Whoops. But if the dependencies are not found, we already wrote in the last video this tool that actually pops up the message and shows you, and also reports it in the actual error codes report log. So these error codes are related to other parts of the app and tools altogether. But if the error code folder or file is missing completely, then this script will not run. Of course, if you know what you're doing, you can just erase that part of the script if you don't want it, but you know, I put a lot of work into this, and when it's done, it's going to be really helpful to tell you what's going on. I'm even going to be putting a network check in there. So it'll be really nice to have. But let's also check that as well. So currently it should show that everything exists, and it does. But if, let's say we rename this, and that doesn't exist, it'll just say error code. And actually, let's make this a little fancier. I like this little trickery. So actually just blank out the title. That way it shows that something's really wrong. And okay. I guess I might have to actually write something there. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. That did blank out the title. It's the title, so actually, I'm sorry, I'm dumb. All we want to do is just write a clear screen before anything else, and that's it. Pretty simple. There we go. And now it just shows error code 100. Error checking system not found. Date and time. Section is check dependencies. Tool cannot continue. Press any key to close. When you press the key, the app just closes. And no matter how many times you run this, the tool just breaks. It's just broken because the error code system is not found. So, and it clears the screen for you, so you can just see that only. So, of course, if we rename this, that won't happen, and everything runs normally. Everything found. So everything's found, and you're good to go because it found the error code checking system. So let's actually add that. Get check updated. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I like that. So it reports its own thing. Oh, you know what I forgot to check was the app report log. So this is a static app report log that should show you if something's broken. So I'm thinking about it, I'm like, do we need to have like a running log? This constantly like giving extra lines if there's more dates that it's just failing to run? I mean, I don't think it's that necessary. If that's the case, we might want to create like because the script is actually going to close, there's no way to create like a variable for that like we did last time. We'll create a second one of these just in case I make a mistake. Maybe 3 of them. Just so I know that the app is completely stopped. And if I accidentally hit again or a key, it won't go any further. But yeah, I'm just thinking right now, like, do we need it to continuously append more lines on here? In other words, if it runs for the first time, you can do a basic if statement to skip creating this file. You know, we can just do a basic, we don't have to do some kind of instance check. We can just check if this file already exists. If it already exists, that means we'll just append. So that's pretty simple. So we'll just say if so we'll just say if not exists. If not exists, and just this file name, and we'll just add this and go ahead and add the file. That's pretty much it. So if this doesn't exist, then go ahead and add the app report log. So first we'll test the normal functionality, right? So this will only activate. Currently it will not activate. It'll just completely bypass that. The app report log. And we can actually get rid of this because we already created everything we need. So let's get rid of check dependencies. Alright, so it's not going to create the file at all. App report, it's not creating an app report log at all. However, it'll only create that if the error code engine is missing. So it looks like it did it. So it says if not exist, if app report log doesn't exist in that directory, then go ahead and create that file. And once it's created, then it's going to dump a report out, which is nice. And we just cannot continue, so the app can't continue. Now if you try to run it again, currently there's no appended lines on there. Appended lines. And we may want to do that just to create some space. So currently there's no appended lines, right? But now if you run it again, it's not going to overwrite this file. It's just going to append to it, which is what we want. You're like, oh crap, let me check the log. Okay, now you say, okay, we're constantly getting this error code 100. So it's good to have that, you know. If you have it, you want this to consistently show. That's how you deduce problems. You're like, if you know, you would say, I keep seeing error code 100. It's happening on this date or this specific time every 1 minute or whatever. So you're probably going to want that to keep appending. So we'll go ahead and keep that functionality because that's really nice. So no matter how many times I run this, it's just going to keep appending more lines to that app report file. And of course, if you delete the app report file, then you have no log. But if you run it again, it'll recreate it, but with the new appended line on there. So that's fine for production. Perfect. So yeah, so I like that. I forgot I can just cycle through these. Well, maybe we'll change the dated main tool. And maybe we'll call it tool report. Just call it app. People are more used to that, I guess. Alright, so that's fine. So this main is just literally, this is reporting an error within the app if the error checking system doesn't exist. So yeah, I like to keep things separate. Alright, so that is it for this area. I know we kind of added more on there. Now we want to move on to install. So kind of want to just copy and paste all this. Sorry, I'm just checking my phone real quick. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add another section. I just want to add one of these separating lines at the end. I just like space. Space just makes things feel easier to find. Alright, so section, this section is called pretty much install putty. So, pretty simple. So our install putty dependencies, just putty inst. So let's just get that going. Never mind, I'm trying to think, like, actually, so we checked all the dependencies are there. Right, so actually, I'm sorry, we want to verify first if putty's already installed before we actually install it. So, what should we call this section?
no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star.
Just call it like the putty requirement check, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. So launch putty installer if so let's kind of change this.
I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass.
Verify. So actually I want to change that. If putty is installed,
Shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. So they might be big in a game like she went and got them breasts.
if putty is installed already, putty is installed already, move forward, otherwise installed. There we go, that's an easier way to put it. Okay. So, there we go. If that variable is already in quotes, so we can do an if not statement.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, shoot.
We're not really doing too many go-to sections. That could be too cluttering. I don't know, I'm just thinking in my head. Sometimes I like to use a lot of go-tos labels just to like make it more official. But I realized that was too convoluted in my scripts in the past, so I'm just trying to keep things cleaner and simple. So if putty installer does not exist, then go ahead and install it. We could do an else statement or just let it skip that command. So if this does not exist, then what we want to do is under the dependencies section, what we want to do is go ahead and execute this installer. So I think we already have that there. So we can just type putty dep. And I think we want to call it actually. There we go. Because we don't want the script to continue until the install is complete. So I think we need to call it. So let's try that. So now we're actually going to test this. So this should not work. We should go straight over to the app stop. It won't even install it. What just happened? Whoops, made a big mistake. There we go. Syntax error. Alright, so it's not going to even try to install it, but let's go ahead and try to uninstall it. So it's actually open on the other side of my screen. I'm just going to uninstall putty. I don't know if this is how other app developers verify installations of software. I'm sure there's a much more official way, but this is a simple way. I'm sure I could figure out other ways. Planning on taking more official coding classes this year. But so far, this is what I've made. And of course, it's going to be on GitHub, so I can always update it in the future. And maybe even change it to Python, which is one of my plans. So now, Putty is gone. Doesn't exist. In fact, if we open up a command line and type Putty, doesn't recognize it, and pscp doesn't recognize it. So now it should try to launch the installer now. There it goes. Oh crap. I'm so used to like touching things and moving things around. Where are you? There you are. But yeah, so now it launched the Putty installer, and as you can tell, the script is waiting until it's done. So something I just realized we gotta fix, so I'm just gonna hit cancel. So I actually may want to create a loop here. Install Putty check. That's actually what we can have called it here. Install Putty check. So if Putty does not exist, go ahead and install it. Otherwise, continue. But we're actually going to need a second one here. But we're actually going to change it. That's pretty much it. We can actually just put... because we just want to give it some time to verify that it did in fact install. So about a 1 second check. I'll do a 2 second check just to make sure that it did install. So that's nice, and the reason why I did that, I'm going to show you, is because of this mistake. It's like, cancel. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. It's like, crap, I didn't mean to do that. The script will say, you know what? Putty's still not installed, so I need you to install it. And crap, I keep doing that. I like Windows, I like that function in Windows, but right now it's annoying me. Ugh. Anyways, so I should just move my mouse and not hold the window. It's also my own fault. But anyways, so if you accidentally close the window and you screwed up, the script is going to say, oh, was Putty installed? Nope, it wasn't, so I'm going to keep telling you to install it. No matter how many times you close out of this, it's going to ask for it to be installed. And because that's an important component for this entire thing to work. So, okay, I'm going to stop doing that now and install it, and then watch. As soon as it's done installing, just defaults or whatever, then the script will continue. The script is waiting for the app to be done, though. So once you hit finish, the script will continue. See? And now we know that Putty was installed, and now it can continue doing what it needs to do.
And just like I showed it before, the putty command was not working, and now it is. Putty command is completely working, and so is psct, which is the secure SSL, using SSH for secure file transfers. So see, now the script can continue because it's working. That's pretty much it. I think we're done with this section. So yeah. So if your script runs, it's going to say, oh, putty was installed. Perfect. So it met the requirements. Something I just thought of there right now, that was something we may want to do. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and uninstall putty again. Again, I got to think more in a production environment. So we need to think about, like, now that the functionality works, what are some errors that could occur? You know? So all these things that we're checking is what the tool is dependent on. The tool, or app tool, whatever you want to call it, it's dependent on these things. If they're not there, the tool is useless. So there's other checks we're going to do, is like network check to make sure there's network connectivity. And, you know, let me add that into my notes. Yeah, we'll add it here. Alright, so we're just checking to make sure that, like I said, that the app tool dependencies are there. If they're not there, then the tool is useless. It's not going to do anything. So so I just uninstalled putty, right? So now it's going to ask you to reinstall it. If you hit cancel, and blah, blah, blah. But now I see an error here because this is just going to keep looping no matter what. And, you know, if you have any antivirus too, that might block it. It's just going to cause a whole issue here. And this is just going to keep looping and looping and looping. And there's no way of escaping. So let's think about something. What do programs normally do if you cancel the installation, or if the installation gets interrupted? They dump an error report, don't they? So they either dump an error report or they report an error. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna report an error if this fails installation. But how do we know if the installation failed? That's a good question. Okay, so I'm just gonna close the script so we don't have to waste time. So if it doesn't exist, it's gonna try to install it. If the install is successful, that's where it verifies here. So we can actually probably change this a little bit. Let's see. We don't want it to run anything there because we won't know if it's actually installed. I'm just trying to think, like, how could we add like a Boolean value or something? So let's think about the logic. We know that this automatically checks if it's already installed, for sure. And if it's not, it will attempt to install it. And we know that it is depending on you installing it right now, right? When this runs.
if you cancel it, or if the app closes or breaks for some reason and does not install, or antivirus blocks it or something, this second check is assuming that this was installed. But it's because this would not run. If PuTTY was already installed, this section would not run at all. Technically it is running, and we probably should create... That's right. Alright, so, no, I'm just trying to make sure I got the logic right in my own head. So we know, like, if this runs, and this skips this whole process, if it skips calling this, then we know it's installed, and it's not going to even process this command. Because it'll skip this command too. Both of these commands will be skipped. So again, it's all dependent on this. So again, we know that if this is not installed, it will launch an installer. So being dependent on you installing it, then it's verifying if you installed it. So let's just add by user, because this won't even be valid if this gets skipped. Because if PuTTY is already installed, this command's going to get skipped, and then this command's going to get skipped. But if it's not installed, then this is going to make sure, this is going to push you to install it. And then this command will run based on this one's verification of it not being installed. So hopefully that logic kind of makes sense. I kind of broke the logic midway there, but all we know is that this is not even valid if this doesn't even get examined or valid. So if this gets skipped, this one will get skipped. If this doesn't get skipped, then this will launch an installer, and then this will check if the installer was run. So we can, all that to say is we can instead of trying to loop this over and over again, we can instead create a code block and say, if this doesn't exist, then we know for a fact that the user skipped installation, or the program stopped installation midway, or broke, or antivirus broke it. So we know for a fact that this will activate as a good check, as a healthy check. So hopefully that makes sense. So here we go. What we're going to do is type, this will be error 104, or 103, I'm sorry. So because the error checking engine was already verified, so now I'm remembering we're using this procedure now for reporting issues. So call sender number 3. In this section that we're at is install PuTTY check. So install underscore PuTTY underscore check. See how easy that is? And that's all we have to do actually. In fact, that's only because we did else statements up there. So we can actually go ahead and just do it here. Just to keep save line space, I guess. So we're going to send error code 103, which according to our table means that putty app not failed. Putty app failed installation. I don't know why I wrote that. Putty app failed installation. Alright, so that's kind of weird. Let me make sure this is open. Also, I realized that I need to delete the message boxes as well. Let me double check that real quick. So if I, for example, this, okay. So error code 103. So error code 103 runs if putty was not installed. So error code 103. And that's another thing to check real quick is the error code engine. Error code 103 not found in database. So let's go ahead and add it in the database. So this is error code 103. It's going to report this message, and we're going to report, we'll just type it. So if we run this, it should say all the dependencies are found now. But if we fail running or installing putty, then it's going to run the error code engine. The error code engine is going to say error code 103 putty app failed to install section install putty check. Error code 103 putty app failed to install section install putty check. Perfect. So something I just realized in the error code engine, which might be like a default, we can tell some kind of variable or something. Hang on, let me just think for a sec. So now we check the error code log, and you can see error code 103 was created. So that's good. So literally we just had to add it here, and then just add it in the error code database, and that's it. And the error code engine works perfectly. And now it's reporting it. It's reporting it right here, which is good. It took 2 seconds for that to report though, so because it's dependent on user input, we probably don't need a timeout. So let's just do it quicker. So I'm just always cautious of that stuff. Error code 103, PuTTY app failed to install. Section install PuTTY check. Perfect. But something we're going to want to do is actually kill it. You know, I think wherever we have these send errors, we're going to need to kill the program. So I think the best thing to do is just to do a clear screen, and we'll just do exactly what this says up here. Tool cannot continue. So tool cannot continue, press any key to close. So we just clear the screen because the call is going to wait until the error code engine is done. So I think, you know, we're developing this as we go. I think this is like the standard format that I'd want to use every time we call an error. We'll go ahead and pass the rest of this in. So, the standard format and procedure to use. Then this has its own section, so error 101, error 102, and then we've got error 103. So let's check the functionality on that. So, say we decide to cancel installation. It'll call, it'll say PuTTY app failed to install PuTTY check. And then it's just going to refresh and just say tool cannot continue, press any key to close. And it's just going to close. Something else I just thought. Say report, error report generated.
It's never too late to admit when you're wrong. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me ahead as I remember the day. Stay in this moment.
I don't think I actually have a directory, but I don't think we really need to just call it error codes. Error code 101, 102. So this is the standard format that we'll go ahead and use. So clear screen, 3 echoes, a pause, and a go-to. So clear screen, 3 echoes, a pause, and a go-to. Clear screen, 3 echoes, a pause, and a go-to. And it just says the exact same thing every time. And then it just ends after you press any key. So there we go. So it says everything's found, and we're actually probably going to get rid of that because we don't really need to display that. Well, maybe. We'll get rid of it once it finally makes it to the actual process that we're wanting to perform. So let's just say, bam! It didn't install, it just says error code 103, PuTTY app failed to install, section install PuTTY check, hit OK. This error report was generated in error codes folder, tool cannot continue, press any key to close. So that's perfect. Someone fails to install it or it breaks, it'll just say error code 103, PuTTY app failed to install, section install PuTTY check. Perfect. And let's see. Section install PuTTY check. Yeah, install PuTTY check. I just want to make sure the sections are correctly named. Check dependencies. Check dependencies, check dependencies. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and install PuTTY since functionality works completely. That's exactly actually what I wanted. At first I was trying to loop install it, but in case you want to cancel it, a normal program is going to spit out an error and tell you it wasn't installed and just stop. So that's actually good. We don't want it to keep looping. But now we'll go ahead and install it using our own tool now. So now the tool will verify if you installed it. And we'll hit finish. Verify that it exists. And it went ahead through with it. So good news. Now it verifies that everything is found. It's pretty quick. Sorry. You know, for those who have slow computers, you never know. Just want a slight timeout delay at least. You know, that should be enough though. 0 seconds. Actually, 0 seconds in batch actually causes a short delay. It's equivalent to like a single ping. So it actually works pretty well. So, alright, so that's working out pretty good so far. Our error code check is working. Spits out an error. Says nothing's found, everything's broken. We can't do anything. Tool cannot continue. Press any key to close. And it dumps an app error, report. So that actually would probably be classified as an app error
but we've actually dumped it into the report log and saying, okay, PuTTY app failed to install. So that's a whole different report. That shouldn't be dumped anymore. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Okay. But this exists because the error code engine doesn't exist. But now it exists. And so no errors were generated. But if the dependencies are broken, now it'll show on the screen. Error code 101 broke. Uh-oh. Good thing I checked this. So that actually broke the reporting. Yeah, it didn't report both of them. So we might want to change. We might want like an actual, like this one is fine because this is the last part of it. But we might want either there's two ideas I have. Either we want the very last one to check if all of them we might want the very last one to report this information so they can all run their calls. But it might be a little weird because yeah. So what we'll do is create a boolean. We'll create a boolean because, like you just experienced, because the dependencies were pretending like it doesn't exist, it sent the error, but then it stopped here and closed the entire program and said it was generating a report. It didn't even get to checking this part, which is breaking. I guess the original idea was, do we want the app to stop if there's a single error? Maybe we do. Maybe we do want the app to stop if there's a single error. But I think actually a smarter function would be to create a Boolean function. So create a function to actually where the switch. So if, okay, so that, there we go.
Now it's just like, man, you gotta have that time where you just like disconnect from the scene, just the race. Like, and it's a race that I've created.
I'm gonna start the music over. So I just figured out what we should do actually. So instead of having all this, I feel kind of dumb now, like instead of having all of this, we should actually just have it call a function. Let me think for a second. Hang on. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm getting really tired. I think we should just have it call the function.
I'm like, we could create a boolean where it actually, if there's an error, it can set a boolean value of yes, or true, you could say. And then at the end of that certain section, it could check if that boolean value is a yes, then it's going to go ahead and, or a true, and it's going to go ahead and pass in. Because this is a standard format, because these errors basically are stating that the program literally has to stop and not continue at all, we could have a single function that does that. So we could either say true, we can either set a value of true, and that if all of these run, if none of them set the boolean to true, then that means the app can continue. But if one of them set the boolean to true, then that means the app cannot continue. That's one way of doing it, or another way, which might be much easier, is just to create a single function that does this. So after this runs, we can just do this. So we'll put this at the very bottom, beneath the exit. This is where usually you'd put your functions, and at least in batch, you can put them at the very bottom, just like beneath the exit, which is a good place to put them. So we'll just call this functions. And this one is going to be called Now the problem with calling this is go to EOF is not going to work, and we'll go ahead and test that real quick. Tool can't run. Let's say tool can't run, or actually we'll just say cannot run. Keep it simple. Cannot run. So actually we'll do this. So that way we know it's the end of the program, or program. Okay, so I'm just all over the place, getting tired. So Putty was already installed, we're just doing the dependencies now, so let's test the idea here. This actually will keep it simple for us too. So call, literally we just call cannot run, and that's it. Because it's spitting an error, we're just gonna call cannot run. So that would also save time, so it's not trying to run through. If we set Boolean values and then total it up at the end, we'd have to like figure out what's most efficient for that. It'd be best to just say, if there's an error here, we should just not run it at all. That might be much smarter. Not found. It reports it like it should, but it's not going to exit. So that's a problem. we should just put an exit function here. Or exit command. So pretty simple. So it performs the same exact thing. So now it's detecting with the dependency, because there's no reason to report the other error if one thing is already missing. There we go. So that's what we want. And now the error was reported. Error code 101. I know last time we were trying to get both of them to open up, but we don't need to have all these errors opening up now that I think about it. We only need to show if one is having an error that causes the program to stop, because it's a dependency and it needs it to be there. The only issue now though is I'm seeing that we're not getting any continuous runs like we did for the app log. So we're probably going to want to do that. But before we do, let's go ahead and get rid of all this and just do call. Cleaning up the code here, making things easier. So that is much, much better. And hang on one second. Yeah. Gotta get rid of that. That is a lot better. So that's a lot cleaner and a lot smoother. So call, this is where it sends the error. So wherever it sends the error, we have two calls. Call center. Okay, perfect. So I'm thinking we're gonna want to also include the date and time. So I think in the error checking engine, checking engine, we need a way to verify if that file was created already. So we created a variable already called error run. So maybe we'll include this in like an error code block. So we'll just get rid of all this and just verify if the file exists, just like we did with the other one. So we'll just do this. There, that's a little bit easier, a little bit cleaner and easier. So if the error code file log doesn't exist, if it doesn't exist, then go ahead and create the file. But if it does exist, it's just going to skip this. And that way we can get consistent log entries. So yeah, that's a much smarter way of doing it, because we don't want like the consistent entries. We don't want the because in the last video I basically wanted like the subsequent entries, but we're not just trying to look for that, we're looking for even the same error code number being reported. So we even need we don't want the way I made it last time, the last video, is just like the error code was literally reporting errors one after another. But we don't want to do that. We want the program to stop completely if there's an error, unless the error is not that bad. If it's just like an informational notice versus like an urgent error, then that can be reported. But whatever's deemed like an actual error where the program should stop, then that needs to stop immediately, but also get logged. So now, no matter how many times you saw there was 2 entries in there, now it says the program can't continue, but now there should be 3 entries there showing the date and time, which is good. That's what we wanted. So now putty should be there, but let's say we accidentally took away let's say we accidentally renamed the file. You know what? I think it's actually using .exe, not .au3.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire.
I haven't started using WinSend keys yet. I barely used it. Just like a basic test. And I didn't know if it was using AU3 or the exe. It might be using the exe. We'll test that right now in actually just a sec. But now, again, so it'll say WinSend keys is not found, and now it's going to report error 102. And it's saying the error report was generated in error codes folder. Tool cannot continue. Press any key to close. Now you'll see that it was error code 102 was finally thrown in there. So that's all we needed, and that's it. So let's rename this. Is it the exe? Yeah, it is the exe. Could be, I don't know if AU3 works. No, it's not AU3. I don't know why I thought that. So it is the exe, or the executable. So the executable is what it should be verifying. Alright, so that's it. I think we're gonna stop for now. We're already hitting almost the 2-hour mark. So yeah, now we got a fully functional, everything should be working right now. Error check system was found, putty was found, WinSend keys was found. Everything's there. Error codes, for some reason, is missing. It's going to just spit out, the app itself is going to spit out an error and tell you can't run anymore. It's going to dump a log and say it's broken. If you try to run it again, it's actually going to keep logging the entries with the new updated time. So that's good. And so it needs the error checking system to even run, of course. But now everything should be normal, hunky-dory. But if the dependencies was missing, for example, now it's going to stop and say, it's actually going to prompt you and show you that there's an error, an issue. And then it'll generate the report and throw it inside the error codes. So yeah, it just keeps logging those errors. So you know, some of you may have thought like, why didn't the app error prompt you? I could create that with VBS. It would honestly be very quick, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I don't know. I could do that. I'll just add that in the notes for next time. But the app itself creates a dump. But I mean, the error code engine is the one responsible for doing that. So, I mean, literally this is the script right here to do it. So maybe I'll just do it real quick. And then it just launches the VBS file. Alright, let me just do it real quick. This is the little... So it dumps it to the app report log. Message box should be that information. Sorry, I'm just like thinking right now. My mind is like blanking out. I'm just getting so tired. Type error codes. There we go. So it creates the error prompt, and then it dumps the data into the error prompt. And it launches the error prompt. According to the error prompt, it's a message box that states this. I just don't remember if that gets dumped to the actual log, but the message box itself just states the error message and the section. And according to this, the error it just states this error message and the section, which is variable number 2, which gets passed in from the app. So the app itself passes that in. So when we do a sender, it just calls a sender, we tell it the error code number and the section and that it's in. So 2 was the section that it was in. Okay. Just trying to make sure I got it all correct. I'm getting really tired. Message box, error message. So I'm just getting so tired. So error code 100, error checking system not found. I don't think I have that any exclamation points in here. Yeah. So it's the same section that it's reporting this. So the message box -2. Yeah, it's doing both. We could write, well, it'd be a separate message box. I think I tested that already. Alright, so I am getting so tired. I'm like ready to fall asleep. Oh my gosh. There. I mean, that's literally all I needed to do. So this will actually dump it, but right here we can get rid of all this. The dump is fine to leave. We'll leave the dump section okay. So we actually don't need this. Oh, we can get rid of the clear screen, but we'll keep that. Okay. Alright, so it's gonna echo. Actually, sorry, that's for the log. So yeah, for the log, it gets dumped, and that's okay if it has the date and time. Then this gets dumped to the actual message error prompt, and then we time out. This will launch the actual VBS prompt file inside of the if statement still. Alright, so if that's all correct, then if error codes is missing, everything should work. So currently, everything should be fine. Uh-oh. I did something wrong. Oops, I think. There we go. Missing bracket or parentheses, whatever you want to call it. No? Oh, what happened here? Oh my gosh, I'm like blanking out. I'm not even thinking clearly. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this closes with that. This closes with that. This closes with that. So if not exist, so if send error does not exist, right? If it does not exist, then go ahead and do all this code blocks, which is, or all information in the code block, which is create a file called error prompt in the current directory. Timeout. Maybe it's the timeout. Yeah. So you can't do and. You can't do an ampersand, which is an extra command. And I don't know, it could also be the reason for comments. Like if I do comment, right? Yeah, okay, so that's the other side. So that was the real problem, actually. So something I learned about batch, you're about to learn right now, is you're not supposed to put comments inside of a code block. I do not know why. Mostly within like a functional, like a statement. Like an if statement, it does not like comments. So if you want this to work perfectly, you cannot put comments inside the blocks here. So for me, the best thing to do is just to create spaces, just so you can kind of grasp what's happening. And I usually put the timeouts close to whatever thing is happening. Whatever command is happening. But that should be clean enough. Alright. So that's about it. So now it works completely fine, everything looks good, but if the error code system is gone, it should prompt you and say error checking system not found. Not found. Not found. Section check dependencies. We hit OK. And oh. Call cannot run. And yeah, there we go. Error code 100, error checking system not found, section check dependencies. Error report was generated in error codes folder, tool cannot continue, press any key to close. There we go, that's what we needed. Maybe we'll get rid of this echo statement. Let me just check. Kind of like that. This kind of creates a little more space. Anyways. Sorry if that like dragged on for a little bit. I was really trying to like, my brain's slowing down a lot. But yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, I don't really see any other thing. Let me make sure everything's being reported. So there's 3 log entries. So if I run this again and hit OK, there should be a 4th log entry. Yeah, there's a 4th log entry now. Fifth log entry. Perfect. And if so, I have it currently stating not found in big caps. Let's just keep it clean. So we can just go. Doesn't have to be in caps. There we go.
Eyes in the sky.
So yeah, I forgot we copied it because we want it to dump to the log as well as the message box that appears. Oh, and that's false information. Dang it. I just realized. We set it to a variable.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night.
We'd have to pass like
Into the fire,
what directory.
no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through.
Of where it generated the report.
Baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true,
Where it generated the report.
shine through for you.
Yeah, I guess that would be good. Oops. We'll just say app report. You'll see what I'm doing in just a sec. I'm always just like thinking of ways to try and make this better. So the app itself is reporting errors of itself. Things that it's heavily dependent on, you could say. Getting really tired. Where's that message? Let's call it error report.
Born from the ashes, I take care of my own. Torn down where assassin, you can't suffocate my spirit.
So we could just do error report and app report without any quotes. You just do %1. Right here, we can just do putty check would be an error report. Then send keys would be classified as an error report. to be classified as an app report, and we might want to change the lingo a little bit. Error report was generated in
Born from the ashes. Born from the ashes. Born from the ashes. Born from the ashes. Born from the ashes.
so. Oh yeah, so that's good because it actually shows you the directory. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. So that makes more sense. Alright, so watch. So error code 100, not found, section dependencies, and then it spits back and it says error report was generated in app report.log file. Tool cannot continue. Press any key to close. So now we say, okay, I see app report.log file. That's 3 entries so far. We hit OK, and there should be a 4th entry now. There's still a 4th entry, and we're still getting the same response. Is app report.log file, which is good to know where it's being located. All this stuff is necessary for this industry. Like, you have to be very precise just so people can figure your crap out. Otherwise, it'll be confusing. And so the more help I can give to the community, the better it's going to be. And it's like I said earlier in this video, like, I've made this script for other businesses, but it's not this detailed. It's much simpler. You know, we've expanded it a lot for more public use. But yeah, so anyways, we're just checking how it does with the dependencies now. Now it should spit back. Error was generated in this directory file, errorcode/errorreport.log. So now you can find that, okay, error codes, errorreport.log. Boom. Now you see it. And of course, we saw that there was 1 entry. That's valid as 1 entry. If we run it again, it's going to say dependencies. Couldn't find putty installer, which is a problem. That's the very first error that it gives. And now we have 2 entries, right? Run it again, it'll say can't find putty installer. And now I run it again. Boom. 101. 3 entries. And all the functionality still works. So it should generate that file again. Perfect. And the app report should generate again. Oops. There we go. I was just like trying to fix the separation. I'm just like in such weird entries. There we go. That looks better for the app report. The other one already does it correctly. go, yeah. So everything's already working correctly. So I know this video was spent a lot of time again on errors, but we did create the functionality of installing the tool. We need to have this deleted. So we just want to have this function. After it launches, just like this, after it launches it, then it deletes it. Probably should do a quick timeout for the engine. Before it removes it completely. I've seen batches just so touchy. I've seen batch just like when it's launching it, it tries to delete the file while it's launching it, and it's just weird. So this batch is so touchy. So wherever this is located, we just want a timeout after the launching of it. So just a basic timeout. Batch is so touchy, it's not even funny. So actually pair those together and just move this over. There we go. It's kind of weird. Didn't delete it. Try it again. Oh. It's because it's not going after that one right now. So normal functionality is working. So after we hit OK, it should delete the error prompt. Yeah, the error prompt went away. That's good. Okay. Alright. Oh my gosh. So, that's it. Like I said, I know that we created so much error checking functionality, but the normal functionality of the system now is very strong. Very well put together. I try to organize my code as I go, but I know it's not fully organized. We're still in draft mode, but at least I know where things are in terms of sections and what each thing is doing. So for now, everything is fully functional. Everything's checking the error check system, make sure the error check system exists, and make sure it ensures that PuTTY is installed, or the PuTTY dependency is found and WinSendKeys is found. But it also checks if PuTTY is installed. So that was the main thing that we were trying to do, was just try to get PuTTY installed and making sure all the dependencies are getting checked properly and the error reporting is reporting properly and logging properly. So like I said, this is for public use, and if this is going to be in a production environment, we have to put together a strong error checking system. And we have to make sure people will configure things out on their own if there's an issue. Otherwise, we'll just get a huge rail of messages. And I know it's like 2.5 hours now. And part of me is like, man, I've been taking so long. But honestly, I've looked at other developer videos, and I've seen like 17-hour videos that they've done. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm just talking like crazy. I'm so tired. Anyways, so Putty was just uninstalled. Let's just check this functionality one more time. So it checks this if it's installed, and if it's not, it tries to launch the installer free from the dependency repo. And then if you hit cancel, or if the program fails to install or something, or the antivirus blocks it or something, then it'll say error code 103, Putty app failed to install. Tells you where the section is in the code that it failed. You just hit OK, and then it says error report was generated, tool cannot continue, close. And let's make sure, yeah, they're sending the error report to the correct section, 101, 102. And call cannot run, app report, error report, that's error code 100. And then Putty install, error code 103, error report, perfect. So far we have 4 error codes according to the error codes list. And they all have been implemented, and they all have logs that are being generated based on those reports. In this one, Putty did not install, and we can actually see that in the log. Error code 103, Putty app failed to install. It gives you the date and time. So that's perfect. Fully functional error checking system. We've created 4 error codes so far. However, that was based on Putty not installing for some reason. So if we actually go ahead and install it, actually let's just check one more time. Cancel, yes. Putty app failed to install, error code was generated. Program tool cannot continue. Error code was generated, and you can find it here. Perfect. I love this, man. I love when the program works. I think every coder does. So now let's actually install it and make sure it's checking the verification of installation is working. So if the fact that it hit app stop, that means everything's working. So even if you run it again, it's just going to skip everything because it found everything that it needs. I mean, it finds things quickly, so it's not like any delay of time at all. It finds things pretty instantly. So literally it got to this section in like half a second. So the rest of the script is going to start running too, or whatever we do next. So that about wraps this up for this live stream, at least for me. I'm getting really tired. Something we may do, I'll add in the edit notes, is let's actually add this, because I'm too tired right now. Let's do 1A. Wait, this is just note taking. Well, let's go ahead and say for error system, add error tone with message prompt. So I was actually thinking about that the other day. It might be a good idea to add like some kind of tone, so people, if they have their sound on, they can actually hear when there's an error. You might ask, how do you play a sound with batch? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's literally, you literally can't, at least that I've found. The only way to do it is to send a PowerShell command. But I'm a little hesitant to do that because PowerShell may not be turned on for everybody, but pretty sure you can still run it. Like right now, I don't think I have it turned on at all. But if I hit PowerShell, it still takes me there. And if I type that's a very common PowerShell command I use. If you didn't know, if you use this command, PowerShell window style or dash window style, you can actually change this to hidden. If you replace this word with hidden, it'll actually completely hide this window and it'll run in the background. Like, that's one way to get your script to run in the background so it's not visible or just minimized only. So that's kind of a nice feature, but you have to specify. It's really weird. If you don't specify like a batch command, then it won't work. So you just add dash command, and I just do echo hide me. This is something I use commonly in all my production environments, just to run my scripts in the background. But I replaced this with the word hidden instead of minimize. But I just wanted to minimize it so I can get back to it. Otherwise, you'd have to go back. Otherwise, you'd have to go to the task manager to bring... You can't even bring the window back, you just have to close it. And I just learned something new about the whole thing. If I do that, I was getting annoyed earlier that all these would minimize, but if you do this, it brings it all back. That's cool. I didn't know that. Anyways, back to my original thought. I don't think you need PowerShell to be enabled to run this basic command. So, but there's another command in PowerShell that you can use to run sound if you want to play an audible tone. The only issue with that is it has like a 1 second delay. So, I don't know. It's not as fast. That's literally the only way I've found to play sound. There might be a VBS way that I'm not sure about, but either way there's like a delay. But for now we got prompts, and that's good enough. And let me make sure we're at a good section. Yeah, all the functionality is working right now, and all the error checking is done. So we haven't added this at all. We've modified a lot, and actually let's get rid of any error logs. There's no error logs. Oh yeah, it says deleted, sorry. So let's go ahead and add these to the stage. Go ahead and commit it. Updated error and main tool. I'll say error chk's error checks and main tool. Oops. You have to do the M flag. There we go. Make sure there's nothing to commit. Alright, we're good to go. Alright guys, I'm going to bed. We made a lot of progress though, we're getting pretty far. Main functionality is working. I think all that's left now is, since everything's pretty much installed and everything's in the background, or everything that, I guess what I mean is all the dependencies are there, the error code checking engine's fully functional. Now we just need to, let's see, now we just need to probably modify like the variables table up here.
so we can make it more user-friendly and make sure that everything that you need is going to be there. And then, I guess before we do that though, we probably want to just make sure the rest of the functionality is done. We need to create the SSH key section. That's the next thing to do. So the next thing to do is to create the SSH key section and make sure that's fully working as a default. And then we'll create all the switches that you can turn on based on what you want. We'll even create a switch to where if you just want to download the main configuration file, or that'll be like a backup. But believe it or not, actually the SSH keys feature in pfSense, if you do that instead on the Acme protocol, the Acme tool, certificate management tool, there's a switch in the general settings. There's literally only 2 settings in the Acme tool. One of them is to write the files to a specific directory in pfSense, and I actually will recommend that in the official tutorial of this tool to turn that on. That way it'll just download everything in there. It'll download either what you specify or just everything in there, and it makes it easier because then we can bypass this whole pulling the base 64 information and parsing, pretty much the whole parsing and conversion phase. It makes everything faster. So I'll show all that in the tutorial, but for now, we just got to create the rest of the functionality in terms of user ease of use. Yeah, I'm getting so tired now. Anyways, my name's Aaron, and I'm the owner of Done Technology Services, and I love creating these production-based scripts and tools. So again, I'm going to be offering this for free on GitHub once it's complete. I've only been developing it live now. I developed everything before, then I decided to start sharing it, and I just started my business a few months ago. So, but I have been doing this for about 10 years, just IT management and administration. But I've only started scripting for the last year, and it's been fun. So again, my name's Aaron, Done Technology Services. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you had some fun, and maybe you also got annoyed. But give me some feedback. I'm completely open to that, and I love constructive criticism because I love to grow. Alright, thanks guys. See you next time.